So I often shoot the cold open last, but I got nothing. But I will say, please stick around to the end. I have some thank yous at the end of this video, and part of it goes out to you. Before I get started, what I do every month with these TBRs is I pick all but one of the books. So this month I have 6 books that I plan on reading this month, and one that's being chosen by Bridger from Library Ladder. So I'm excited for what he has in store for me. But let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with the 2 books, which are buddy reads, read-alongs, whatever you want to call them. Let's start with Boosh. Can I do the Boosh? Has Alan trademarked that? Am I going to get demonetized for going Boosh? Because this is Alan's read-along. I'm reading Servant of the Empire, the second book of the fantastic, at least so far, Empire trilogy by Raymond E. Feist and Janny Wirtz. This was a book that I somehow missed in the 80s, and I'm absolutely kicking myself for missing this series. This is the second book of that series. I love the first book. You can already tell I'm gushing about the series. I will gush about it more in my monthly wrap-up when I do my July book reviews. That'll be out in about a week or so. But I am excited to be reading Servant of the Empire. Again, Alan has a read-along in July, August, and September of those 3 books. It will be the first book that I pick up in August. So the other read-along that I'm doing is the Soldier's Son trilogy by Robin Hobb. I've read the first 2 books in June and July. I'll be reading the 3rd book, Renegade's Magic. Now, this series has not been my favorite by Hobb, but I really love the way that the 2nd book ended, so I am excited. So I'll probably read this one early in the month. I'm reading this one with Derry and Scott and Jake Bishop and a whole host of others. And we've been talking about these on some of the various Discords that probably a lot of you go to, Grimoire and so forth. But I am looking forward to reading more Hobb. I just love her writing style. She is my favorite fantasy author, and I'm very much looking forward to see how she closes out this series. So one thing I've been doing this year is making a more concerted effort to read short stories. So what I started at the beginning of the year is after I finished a book, just about every book I've read a short story from this huge collection of short stories by Robert E. Howard called Conan's Brethren. And I'll be finishing that this month. It ends with a 100-page novella, which I'll be reading sometime this month. These have been great. I really love Howard's writing style. None of these have Conan the Barbarian. I read that collection a year or 2 ago. This collection has a lot of his other heroes, Solomon Kane, Bran MacMorn, Kull the Conqueror, and a host of others. So I'll be finishing that up in August, and then I'll be starting a new collection of short stories, which I'll talk about on this TBR probably next month. All right, let's next see what Bridger has in store for me. Bridger, what do you want me to read in August?
Thanks, Josh, for asking me to recommend a book for you to read this August. Given how similar our reading tastes are, this wasn't as easy as I expected. My first thought was maybe a challenging work of philosophical science fiction, or perhaps a celebrated self-published dystopia that's back in the spotlight these days. But then my gaze landed on this eye-catching volume, and I knew I'd found the book for you. The Ferryman is a new release that I haven't read yet, but am eager to start. From what I can tell by reading the jacket blurb and a couple of brief spoiler-free reviews, it seems to combine aspects of Neil Stephenson's Anathem and Hugh Howey's Silo, with possibly a dash of Shakespeare's The Tempest and William F. Nolan's Logan's Run added for good measure. And if that isn't enough to pique your interest, it's written by Justin Cronin, author of The Passage, which, in my opinion, and I think yours too, is one of the best vampire novels ever written. If The Ferryman has even half the tension and emotional heft of The Passage, then I think this will indeed be a fun read for both of us.
So I am super excited to read The Ferryman for a few reasons. First of all, Bridger made a thoughtful choice for me for a book that he thought I would like. I love this author. He didn't make my top 10, but he did make one of my videos I did last year on my auto-buy authors. Authors that when they write a book, I immediately order it. The other thing I'm super excited about, I was wondering at any point this year as I'm getting others to choose things for me, if they pick a book I already owned, and I already own this one. So thank you, Bridger, for both picking a book that I'm really excited to read, but also taking one off of my physical TBR, which is a bit overwhelming at the moment. Another book I plan on reading in August is The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. This was actually gifted to me from Danny when I was in Japan. And I've realized, as much as I love Japan and Japanese culture, as far as literature is concerned, I've only read Murakami. So it's time to rectify that and read this work that Danny had recommended to me. It sounds really interesting. The professor has only 80 minutes of memory, and every morning wakes up to kind of a blank memory and meets the housekeeper for the first time. So I'm really intrigued about this, and I'm always intrigued to read translated fiction, especially in Japanese, since I'm still fresh on that trip last month. But I'm very much looking forward to The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa. And the last two books I'm going to talk about is me starting a new book series, which was a top priority for 2023. I'm finally getting there. I'm so excited to finally be reading Hyperion by Dan Simmons. And I will be reading both Hyperion and The Fall of Hyperion, which I have in an omnibus edition. Hyperion appeals to me because, frankly, it sounds like the science fiction book that might be written for me. It sounds like it has a lot of kind of literary fiction ties to it. It's a science fiction story which everybody compares to the Canterbury Tales. And I do enjoy Dan Simmons. I have read 4 or 5 works by Dan Simmons. The Terror is one of my favorite works of historical fiction. He is an author with a lot of scope, and this is one of his greatest works. And I will be honest, I've been waiting to do my top 10 works of science fiction until I read this book, because I'm pretty confident that this might end up on that list. But in addition to that, I've heard some people say, like I know Jonathan at Words in Time mentioned that he liked The Fall of Hyperion even more. So I'm excited to start the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons. I'll be reading these 2 in August, and I think I'll read the 2 Endymion books in September and October. But I'm super excited to read this series. That was one of my top priorities for 2023. So hey, if you've read any of these books, let me know in the comment section below, spoiler-free, what you thought of them and whether you think they were going to be something that's going to work for me. Additionally, I'd love to hear what you're reading in August. I'm super excited for my books. Hopefully you are as well. Thanks again to Bridger from the Library Ladder for choosing The Ferryman for me. I'm super excited to read that. If for some reason you don't know his channel, he has some of the most high-quality content in YouTube. Full stop. Go subscribe. He also has, if you like my shelves, his collection is like 30 times better than mine. So go check out Bridger's channel if you don't already. I also want to thank all of you. The channel recently hit 3,000 subscribers, and as a channel that took almost a year to hit 100, I'm so thankful that you just like to hear me talk about books. So thank you so much. In a week or 2, I'm going to do a live stream and Ask Me Anything. I'll do a post and let you know when that's happening. But I'd love to have you hang out in the chat live when I do that live stream. But thank you all for being here. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Twitter and Goodreads. I'd love to interact with you there. As always, thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.